Hello and welcome to the IDTANA Storytellers. The IDTANA Archival Committee has been tasked with capturing the stories of some of our most influential members over the years. Our committee's goal is to gather these stories to benefit our organization's teachers, families, and dancers, and to preserve North American Irish dance history for generations to come, honoring those who came before us and ensuring their names are not lost for those who come after us.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to another interview by the IDTANA Archives Committee, and I'm extremely pleased to be with a really good friend of mine from my part of the world in the United States, Mrs. Kathleen Yourell Rondeau, living in Fort Pierce, Florida. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kathleen, you and I have known each other a heck of a long time. And it's interesting, when we started talking about doing this interview, I realized I didn't know much about you. So it'll be interesting for me as well as everybody else to find out what's going on. So obviously you're from Ireland. Tell us about where you are from in Ireland.
I'm from Dublin, Ireland. And I came
whereabouts in Ireland? Whereabouts in Dublin?
Crumlin.
Oh, very good. Okay. And you said your family name is Yourell. How is that to be?
Well, they tell me that the English we're descended from the French Huguenots, and they were brought over from France to populate Ireland. They didn't invade, we were brought over by the English, that's what they say.
Very good.
And it's a very unusual name, even in Ireland, and all the Urels are related in Ireland. There's very few of us. But it's kind of interesting. But my mom was born in County Mayo, and she's a thorough Irishman.
And where is your dad from? From Dublin?
My dad lived in County Meath.
Oh, right. Okay.
And my mom was from Claremorris, County Mayo.
Excellent. And what about family? You have brothers and sisters and all that?
I have two brothers. One is deceased, and I had one sister, and she passed away last year. So it's just my older brother, who is now, believe it or not, 92.
Oh my goodness. Good for him.
He still lives in Connecticut, and just myself. So
excellent. Very good. Now, how did you get involved in Irish dancing? What was the take on that?
I always loved to dance. Did ballroom dancing, did all kinds of dancing. And my girlfriend decided she was going to go down to, it was Lily Comerford. She was in our vicinity. So we went together, and I kept going, and she dropped out and went to the Cayley dancing. And we're still very good friends. In fact, we sponsored her family over here, and she's in Connecticut. But anyway, I kept going and just loved it. And Lily Comerford was my teacher. She was a fabulous teacher.
What was she like as a teacher? I hear lots of good things about her.
She was very funny. She smoked while she taught. She had a cigarette in her hand and the smoke curling up her face, and she had a real Dublin accent, and she'd say, "If you don't practice, you ain't going to the mansion house." but we all loved her. She was great. And
what age did you start dancing?
I started dancing at 6.
Wow, that's great. And it was basically solo dancing and Cayley dancing, correct?
Yes, the way she worked it, you walked in, and she had hundreds of students, and you sat down and you sat around them, and then you got your turn and you got up. She had the older girls helping her. And then she would, when everybody was through with their solo lesson, we all waited around for the Cayley dancing, and you could be there for 3 hours, but sure. I always waited because I love the Cayley dancing too. And that's how she ran her classes, and they were very successful. She had produced many. Rory O'Connor.
Right.
Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He was actually on my panel when I took my TC.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah, and he was very pleasant. And Margaret Kane, and the other one was Maureen Hall's sister.
Oh, Peg McTaggart.
Peg McTaggart. She was
yeah. So tell me, what was the Lily's costume like? What did you wear?
The Lily Comerford's costume was a kilt, an orange-colored kilt, and it had a white front with the white stiff cuffs and a black vest, and the shawl, and that was it. That she had that. As long as I know, she had it till the day she died. So she was the same thing.
Very good.
Yeah.
And
she helped me with my first costume.
Yeah. Did you? I'm assuming you competed for her at various competitions?
I just competed in regular competitions. I didn't go for any of the big things. And but the first time I entered competition, I got a recall. And if you got a recall, you got a certificate. So I was thrilled. I won the certificate on my first try. So
Excellent. Very good.
anyway.
And were there many Feshana or competitions in those days?
Lily ran comfort. She ran competitions about once a month. Yeah, she ran them herself, and she got help. But they were and the other regular ones too. There was like Harry McCaffrey was in the vicinity, not in my vicinity, but he taught in Dublin.
Sure.
Margaret Kane taught. Let's see, Little Tully. There's a bunch of them. They all came from Lily Comerford's school.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, when you would do competitions, I mean, I'm assuming was it at all like it is now? You would do like so many bars of step in the reel, or you just start and just go till the bell rang. How did it work?
You went till the bell rang.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So what happened if you ran out of steps? You just kept repeating.
They didn't let you go that long.
Okay. And who were the people that would have been adjudicating? People like Harry McCaffrey and other people from other parts?
Like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you got the certificate, but did you get other awards like medals and cups and trophies?
I won medals. Yeah, won medals. Yeah, after that, but the very first thing I won was the certificate, and that
was a big deal.
That was a big deal for me. Yes, it was.
Now, how many people would have been in a competition, say in your age group, where you would have to get the recall?
20 or 30.
Okay, and how many would be recalled? Just a few.
If I can remember, maybe 5 or 10.
Okay. So it was a challenge to move to the next level then. That's really good. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Were there other things going on in dancing? And I know the Kelly dancing. Did Lily do choreographies and dramas and things of that nature? Or no, basically
she didn't do drama. She just strictly Irish dancing. Yeah, and then the Kayleys, you could go to the Mansion House on Sunday night and everybody did the Kayleys. And not just Lily, but the whole.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did she have particular favorite Kayleys?
What was that question?
Did she like particular dances, like the high call cap or the three?
She taught all of those. Yes, she always taught she taught the solos and she taught the Kayleys.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. So now you danced for how many years then in Ireland before you moved on?
Oh Lord, well, I was about 16.
Okay. And at that point, did you move to the United States, or were you just give up the dance?
No, I was 21 when I came to the United States, but my mom didn't want me to come, so I had to wait till I was 21, and she couldn't stop me anymore. My sister came over when she was 17, but anyway. But I came over and I went to the local Irish club, and I was they had some dancers there that night, and I went home and I asked my sister. My sister was always writing to me and telling me, "You would teach dancing great over here." And I had no intention of teaching dancing when I came to this country, until I saw what they were passing off for Irish dancing.
And this was where this was in Connecticut.
If I mention the place, the school will know who I'm talking about.
All right, well, maybe we'll leave that alone. Okay. But it was definitely in the New England area, correct?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay, and so you come out here primarily just to have a new place to live and to work and that sort of thing. You didn't come here for Irish dance.
No, I had no intention. I kept telling my sister, "I am not teaching Irish dancing," and she said, "You do great." I said, "No, I'm not doing that." I got a job at the Aetna Life Insurance Company, and they had an organization called the ICEB, Insurance Companies Entertainment Bureau, and I joined it, and I did my dancing, and they would go take a bus, and we would travel to the jails, to the different places, and the shut-ins, and I would dance. Somebody else may be playing instruments, singing. It was a variety thing. But when they got through the next day of work, I was bombarded with all the people. "You should teach Irish dancing. I have children." Well, saying this, "No, I'm not doing that." And they kept bugging me. So finally, "I'll try it." So I started I big old record player walking down. I didn't live too far from this hall, the Lithuanian Hall actually, and I rented that. And I could walk to it. I didn't have a car.
Sure. So you walked down there with the record player in your hand.
Big old record player, and I started out with about 10 people, and then it just got more and more. And then I got into the Irish club, And then a lady called me from Bristol, Connecticut, which is maybe about an hour from where I lived. And I figured, oh, I don't have a car, I have nothing. She said, I can get you about 30 people if you get out here. So I went and I took a loan out for $1,100. and and I bought a car. It was a 55 Mercury.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Thought I was the cat's meows. Anyway, I got out there. When I got out there, I got 70 kids altogether.
Oh, wow.
I paid my car off in no time. And everybody kept saying, you paid too much for that car. And I says, that's fine. I didn't have any money saved or anything, so that was a good deal for me.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's how I started. And then I taught in Bristol, I taught in Hartford, I taught in Manchester, I taught in where else I teach there? Bristol, Unionville. I taught in all those towns when I lived up there.
Sure.
So
Oh,
then
mostly around the Hartford area, around
Right.
the general Hartford area.
Then we decided in 1976 to move to Florida. And when I moved down here, we moved to Miami. Hated Miami. It's not a good place to bring up children. But anyway, we're there for 4 years. And I started a class. I said, I'm not teaching dancing anymore, not doing that. So my kids went to school and they had the show and they did their Irish dancing. And next thing I got a call, well, where'd you learn that dancing? My mommy taught me. So I got a phone call, oh, please, would you please start teaching? I started again, and that's the story I'm still teaching.
Let me go back to Connecticut. I have a couple questions. When you first started teaching Irish dancing in the Hartford area, were there other people teaching in the area? I mean, you don't have to name them necessarily,
Yes,
but were there other classes in the area?
There was 1, 2, it's about 3 more.
Okay. And were any of them like certified teachers with the commission, or were they like you, someone that just knew the dancing and taught it?
I think they were just like myself, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you wind up becoming a certified teacher, a TCRG? When did that occur?
Well, I had a lot of friends in Dublin I danced with, and they've encouraged me to take my TC. So I went back in I took my TC in 1974, I think it was 74, and then I took my AD the next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Both in Dublin?
Both in Dublin. Mhm.
Okay. But that was while you were still teaching in Connecticut, correct?
Right.
Okay, very good. And what were there feshes? Were there competitions in Connecticut in those days?
Oh, yes. And then this was COGOL. Now that the commission had split about a few years back.
Sure.
And most of all the teachers that I took from knew Margaret Kane, Carrie McCaffrey, Rory O'Connor, they were all COGOL.
Right.
So they both broke off from commission. So I was COGOL. But the thing was, when I would compete I would get blackballed because I wasn't commissioned, and my kids were getting robbed, and that's the truth. Mm-hmm. So I finally, they said, why don't you switch over? And I did. And they told me I would have to sit for my TC again. I says, and I had just heard that somebody else 2 weeks before, they just brought them in without having them released.
Sure.
So in fact, Lord rest her soul was, what's her name?
Mary Walsh?
No. She's the one that I said her sister took back, was on my team.
Oh, Maureen Hall.
Maureen Hall, yes. Thank you. Maureen says, no. You don't have to sit that back. You tell them, and you can tell them I told you. So I said, well, I didn't mention her name. I said, I know that you passed somebody else on, and why are you making me sit for my exam again?
Right,
so,
exactly.
No, that's fine. So they just brought me on board to the commission. So that's how I became commission. So
now,
then
when you came on, were you a TC and an AD, or just a TC?
I was a TC and an AD.
Okay, very good. So what were the feshes like in those days in Connecticut? Where they were outdoors, I'm assuming? Yeah,
a lot of them were outdoors. In fact, they were all outdoors. The biggest one was that we went to was the one in the Irish Club in Glastonbury.
Glastonbury, right.
They ran a big fesh, and they're still doing it. In fact, I judged one of them not too long ago. But they were pretty much what's going on today,
Mm-hmm. Outdoor feshes and how did your kids do with those feshes? Did you feel they got a good look?
Oh yeah, we did very well. Won quite a few choreographies, and kids. My kids were all my kids did very well. Yeah.
Excellent. So what caused you to move to Florida then? Was it work or?
No, we got tired of the cold weather. So my husband, we used to vacation down here every year, and my sister-in-law lived in Miami. And when we moved down here, we went back one year. We used to drive. Sometimes we'd fly, sometimes we'd. This year we were driving, and the closer we got to home, the more snow. And we got home, my husband said to me, "Want to move to Florida?" And I said, "Sure." That March, the following year, we're living down here. So
Let me ask you a quick question. I completely forgot to ask you about your charming husband, Ernie. How did he come into your life? What was the way that he entered into your experience?
It's kind of funny. My friend who lived in Bristol, Connecticut, I thought her daughter was in my class. She called me and said her sister was coming down from New York to visit, and there was a dance in Bristol that night, regular ballroom dance.
Mhm.
Would I mind going? So I drove out there and I took her went to the dance. And then afterwards, she met this guy and he asked her to go for coffee. So we followed their car and we went in. And we sat there and we had something to eat and some coffee, and we were getting up. There was six people, 3 in front, and there was a booth, and 3 this way. So I didn't see the person in the corner, happened to be Ernie at the time. And when he stood up, I thought he was the most gorgeous looking guy in the world. And I said to his buddy, I said, who's that real good looking guy? And he says, "You want to go out with him?" I says, "Well, no, I can't say that. He may not want to go out with me." So he took my name and address and took my name and phone number. And that was around St. Patrick's Day, and I was helping my dressmaker with the embroidery on the costumes. So I wasn't home. And my mom would say when I get home, "Ernie called." And I say, "Who's Ernie?" This went on for about a week. And finally I said, "I bet you it's that guy." So I said, "Give him my number over at Peggy's." No, and she did, and he did. So we went out that Saturday night to the Terrace Ballroom up at the airport. That's where he took me for dinner. A month later, we were engaged, and 6 months later, we got married.
Oh, wow. So what year was that?
That was 1961.
How amazing. That's wonderful. I've had the occasion to meet Ernie many times over the years, and he truly is a good-looking, charming sort of man, and I can understand why you would have been drawn to him entirely. I always enjoyed chatting with Ernie, having good conversations.
He's a really, really outgoing,
Sure.
very easy to talk to guy, definitely. I always said he can talk the hind legs off a donkey.
People say that about me too, but that's another matter. So tell me one thing I forgot to ask. What was your costume like? What your school costume in Connecticut when you were teaching?
Okay, I changed it a couple of times. It was a green dress with the Celtic design up here and completely embroidered around the bottom. So, and we had the shawl to match. So
very good.
Yeah.
So the traditional green, absolutely. Okay. All right. So you ultimately decided to move to Florida, and away you went to Miami, and thinking that Irish dancing was a lost cause. Well, obviously, when you got there, that turned out not to be the case, right?
Oh no, it was very depressing. Nobody had even heard of Irish dancing. So the school that called me, they were begging and pleading, "Please start." So I did, and I got quite a few kids, and I also had an adult class, which was great. I had one girl she was from Dublin. She never danced in Dublin, surprisingly. John McColgan, do you know who he is?
I don't remember the name, no.
He's the one that started, what the heck did he start? It was his sister. But anyway, I taught her and she was doing really well. When I moved up to Miami, she took the class up over there. Colleen took it over first, but then went to college. So then she took it. So it was good. And then I moved up I was driving back there to Miami from Fort Pierce. It's like a 2.5 hour ride. And then I dropped Miami. So I was teaching in Hollywood, which is an hour south of that. I was teaching in Boca Raton, I always went into the Catholic schools because that's where the Irish are.
Sure.
And then when I came up to Fort Pierce, I started, Ernie and my 2 boys they built 2 studios for us. We had a property over in Fort Pierce, and they built the 2 studios, one for Shannon and one for myself. But anyway, I got tons of kids. I was the only one that was teaching around here, in fact, in Florida. And I had over 100 kids.
Wow.
So but I still traveled. I dropped Hollywood. I kept Boca Raton, and the nuns were there, and they always had our back. There's not a nun left in that school.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's so sad, they're all back in County Cork. That's where they're retired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm still in touch with them. But anyway, they were very good to me. I mean, they couldn't do enough. I was in there, would hardly take any money for me teaching there, and I would, at the end of the year, I would just donate something to them.
Sure, sure.
Anyway,
And I think that happened with a lot of teachers in the United States. It was the way they got started. Yeah, absolutely. Now, during this period of time, there weren't any competitions, I'm assuming, in Florida, unless you ran them.
No, I ran my own. Yeah. I'd bring in a judge and just have them,
like a class competition kind of thing.
Competition, yeah.
Sure.
That's what we started with, yeah. And then we started going to the competitions, and they did very well. I figured, these parents aren't going to want to travel, but they did. They really enjoyed it.
I was always amazed when I first got involved in the southern region, how many of the people in Florida and other places traveled hundreds of miles to competitions and didn't bat an eye about it. I mean, it was just like pretty obvious. Yeah.
So Ernie and I would go, we'd leave on a Friday and come back on Sunday. We'd go up to New Orleans, we'd go up to New York. We were nuts.
So during the course of this dancing, obviously, other people came to teach in Florida, and that was fine. But then you also developed a reputation for having some very, very fine championship dancers, including your own granddaughter. So tell me a little bit about some of those dancers and some of the ones that kind of stood out in your memory that were your best ones.
Well, I had 2 dancers in Boca Raton. They were the whole family dancers, 3 of them, girls, and the mom, she was great. She would, if I had a show to do down there and I couldn't make it, she would just run it for me. She was wonderful. Those girls did wonderful. And Whitney McIntyre.
Your grandson, right? Mm-hmm.
McIntyre he's back in, he's doing his master's. He's doing mental health. But I said to him, I know you're not going to be able to give up dancing. So there's few people in where he's living has done Irish dancing, and they rented a hall. I think they charge them $20, and they all go in there and they dance.
And they just have a good time.
But I think when he gets out, he might do his TC and
absolutely. Yeah. I definitely remember myself as an observer, but also as a judge. Your granddaughter Whitney was an absolutely gorgeous dancer, wasn't she?
She was, yes, yeah.
I just loved seeing her. She's a very ladylike dancer, very elegant. Yeah, absolutely. And you had lots of other fine dancers as well. I remember different names and that sort of thing. But then I also remember McIntyre when he was dancing. He was a very strong, powerful sort of dancer. Yeah, it was great.
He'd be up like this over his head.
And your other children, like Chanda and Dawn, they were all involved in the teaching as well, right?
Dawn taught and Chanda taught. Colleen taught for just a short time, but then she has trouble with her back. She's had scoliosis and had that rod put in, so it was hard for her. So they took the rod out down the road. So she's still, when you have back problems and you have surgery, it's always there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have not seen you much recently on the competitive circuit or whatever, and I know the school is technically closed. But when you think back on it, what memories do you have of your dance class, either in Connecticut or here? What are some special memories that you have about your involvement in Irish dance?
Oh, just the parents. They were always praising me and telling me how great I was doing, and which is great to hear. And I just, I would have a Christmas party for the kids, and parents would come in, and we'd have so much fun. And it was just when I look back, I still am very friendly with a lot of my adult to the parents.
Sure.
And they're from all over, and still in contact with them. One couple has a place in Ireland, and they're always inviting us over. I think my traveling days are over, but that's I say, made so many good friends, and I'm still friendly with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, at one point, the commission decided they were going to create a new region in North America, the Southern region. And you were involved in that one to some degree at the beginning, weren't you?
Right. I was the secretary.
Right. But I think it was Laureen James was the regional director. I don't remember who else, but I know that you were definitely involved. And then the region got started, and we had our very first Oireachtas in Florida, of all places. And that was quite an experience. What do you remember? Have any memories of that period of time with the beginning of the region?
I do. I remember working my butt off. We all did, you know, we wanted it to be a success, and um, it was wonderful. I mean, it was just what an accomplishment to have a fesh in Florida when there was nothing there at one time, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's a whole lot more fishes now than there were before. But the idea that we would have an Oireachtas the first Oireachtas was in Atlanta, now that I think about it. But the second Oireachtas was in Florida. And that's pretty unusual to be in a place where you don't have a ton of people teaching, but the support was just absolutely amazing. You had yourself, Sheila Butler, different ones that worked on it. It was rather amazing. And the region has grown by leaps and bounds. There were probably about 25, 26 teachers at the beginning. Now there's 100 and something teachers in the southern region, and quite a few in Florida. The world has grown smaller, so to speak, as it were. Do you still are you
That's
still?
a good thing. I said,
Yeah,
that's a good
I suppose.
thing.
Yeah, it is. Over the years, you know, you had kids compete at the nationals, at the major competitions, and so forth. What was your thought about how Irish dancing progressed? I mean, obviously, you knew dancing with Lily in Ireland, and you had your dancing in Connecticut, but obviously things have changed a lot over the years. What's your thought about the way it looks these days, the material and the visuals and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's well, when it first came out, I was figuring, wow, that's not Irish dancing, you know, and up on the toes and all that stuff. But I've changed my mind. It's just wonderful to see these kids doing it. In fact, America's Got Talent, a couple of shows ago, they opened up with the Irish dancers. Did you know that?
I did see that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that was amazing. Yeah, it was. It was really. Yeah, Irish dancing certainly has a stronghold here in North America. There's no two ways about it as far as that goes. And when you think about some of our North American dancers who are doing so well at the All Irelands and the Worlds and all that sort of thing, it's really important. It's really, really good. Do you think dancing is going in the right direction for Irish dancing?
I think so, but I don't like the wigs. I never have, and I don't like the girls wearing I think their dresses are too short today.
Hmm.
They're much too short. There's no need for that. I mean, it was like what, 3 inches above the knee, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And makeup on these little children, I don't go for that either. They don't need that.
Sometimes maybe we go a little too extreme with certain things as far as that goes.
Yes,
But I think you're right when you watch some of the dancing, when you sit and watch them on the stage, whether at a performance or a fashion, you think, wow, look at what they're able to do.
right.
You know, the athleticism and the strength and the power. You know, when I think about the steps that I learned in Boston from Helen Madden, you know, very basic cork steps. Those steps wouldn't get a look in the door these days, but
Right.
but on the other hand, it was good training. But
Yeah.
when you look at what the kids can do now from some of these schools, and we have world champions, it's quite amazing. Florida seems to have picked up a few extra teachers. There's a whole lot more going on down there in terms of Irish dance now. It's growing. But you were the queen that started it all, right?
Yes, I was the first one in here, first
Yeah.
certified teacher, and we ran a fesh, our own fesh, every year for 17 years. We ran the fesh. In fact, my son, my two sons, and my husband would take the floors and put them down. But we had our own floors. We'd got our
Right,
own
sure.
up there, and we would put them down. And some of the parents would even get in and help us, but to get the thing ready for the fesh the next
But
day.
But
But it was always so much fun.
I think we've all discovered, Kathleen, that without your family, you probably wouldn't be much in Irish dancing. You know, my wife, Milliam, we're the same way. It's kind of like if you didn't do it all together, what would happen? You know?
Right.
Absolutely. Well, Kathleen, it absolutely has been a great, great joy to talk with you and reminisce with you and find out a whole lot about you as far as things that I
Can I
didn't
show
know.
you something before you go?
Absolutely.
Hang on. You're gonna get a bang out of this, I think. You know how people are dancing on their toes now?
Absolutely.
See these shoes? Can you see these?
Hold them up so I can see them in the camera. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
See the toes?
Yeah.
When I first came to this country, I took tap dancing from her name was Phyllis Stone, and she taught me into doing an Irish dance on these.
And that was long before Michael Flatley was doing that.
It was at the Bushnell Memorial in Hartford.
Oh, right. Sure. Yeah.
And they brought the house down, and I figured, oh my God, you know, I still have them.
Sure
They
that you're
used to be pink. They're so old now, but
Wow.
I can't throw them away. They just need-
Absolutely. Well,
Oh,
Kathleen,
okay.
you have done absolutely wonderful things, and I'm so happy to have a chance to talk with you. You're bright and bubbly as always, and I love your bright red hair and your bright big smile.
Oh, you're great too. You were just, and Millie, how was Millie?
Millie is doing great. Thank you
I
so
remember
much.
Millie. Every time I'd love to be around her because she told so many jokes, and my stomach was hurting. And I remember telling her one time, "Stop telling jokes for a minute. I can't stop laughing. My stomach." She was so funny.
We do have those memories. Well, listen, we're so happy that you were able to be one of our first interviewees here for the IDTNA. We wish you the very best, and God bless, and God bless to you and to your family, and thank you so much for being a part of our process. God bless.
Thank you so much. God
Thank
bless.
you.
Bye-bye.